Hi friends, this reflection is for the second Sunday of Advent, year C. So last week, I think there's a little bit of confusion. So you get a gospel that happens later in the Gospel of Luke. This Sunday, we get the one that happens kind of like a prequel, so to speak. Look at Star Wars, for example, right? But here, we hear about this man that was said that was going to speak in the desert, that was going to make way for the king. And that is the cousin of St. John, and that is the cousin of Jesus, St. John the Baptist. And what does he do? He wants to call people to start preparing the way of the king. And of course, and according to other accounts, what John the Baptist is in, he's doing A, B, and C. They are very descriptive about it. Now, we also see in Luke is that Luke tends to be very historic, has historic context of himself. Now, we hear names that are associated with the passion of Christ, right? And now we also hear some names of those that are associated with what is the nativity of Christ, such as King Herod, such as Caesar Augustus, right? Here, we hear that John is fulfilling what the ancient prophecy has foretold, that someone was going to be preparing the way of the king. And this is before Jesus was going to launch his ministry, as we read in this gospel here. But what is the purpose? St. Leo the Great reminds us that Jesus Christ was to be born so he could die for us. He took on human flesh. If that is not enough, I think some of us must understand what is the purpose of Advent. Pope Benedict XVI reminds us that Advent is not only a time of waiting for eternity, it is also, in a very special sense, a time of inner joy that cannot be driven out by suffering. This can perhaps be understood best if we look closely at the inner content and meaning of our Advent practices. The people of God has, as if we're translating scripture in a visible form. In Psalm 96, for example, then shall all the trees of the wood sing for joy before the Lord, for he comes. Even our Christmas fair has its roots in the church Advent liturgy, which echoes the wonderful words of the Old Testament. On that day, the mountains will drip sweetness and the rivers will bring down milk and honey. See, that is why we are celebrating these 4 weeks of preparation. Now, as Pope Benedict reminds us that there are some practices that we're going to be doing to prepare for God. First of all, we must make use of the sacrament of penance. It could change your life because Christ wants us to be free from sin. Are you willing to be free from sin, friends? If you have not gone to confession, now will be the time to do so. He also wants us to make time to pray more. Now, sometimes people may think Advent and Lent are the same thing. Well, it can be, but there's a difference. You see, Advent, we prepare for the coming of Christ. Lent, we follow Jesus to Calvary. Now, we are not at Calvary yet. We're journeying to Bethlehem, friends. And we really need to walk with Mary and Joseph as they are preparing for Christ to come. As Joy to the World reminds us, we must prepare him room. Let every heart prepare him room. That's what Advent's all about. We are preparing for Jesus to come into our own hearts. And the first thing that we must do is make use of the sacrament of penance. The second week of Advent's theme is peace. During Mass, the priest quotes the Gospel of John, in which Christ tells us, "Peace I leave you, my peace I give you." Christ gives us peace in order for us to share that with others, whether it's the homeless, the outcast, those who have fallen away from the church, even those who do not know him. We are the peacemakers. We are the messengers that John the Baptist was being prophesied about. We are his messengers. We are called to go out and preach about his peace. So are you willing to do that, friends? Now, I'm not just saying, like, do it, from your window of your house or whatever, but I'm suggesting, share the gospel with others. That's the first step of being a peacemaker. We share his gospel. It's not all about breaking up quarrels or anything like that. It's about sharing Christ. May his peace be with you. Go and seek his mercy. God bless.